What's up, everybody? This is CJ Johnson. You're watching More Life Video Podcast. I don't want to mess up your name. Okay, so say the whole name for me.
It's Ellis California Jones III.
Ellis California Jones III.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. So I met you on social media.
Yeah.
I saw you talking. I was like, man, this guy knows what he's doing. I mean, he's doing the doggone thing, but you made an explosive impact because you came on a black chat group and you said, I'm running for council and I'm also Republican. Tell me about, that moment in time and, how it affected you.
Well, I've been on Black San Diego for quite a while, in different capacities. I was a model, I was an actor. I started getting into spokesmanship, I guess. I haven't did commercial for some big companies. And so I started to, go to local businesses and just, promote myself, pushing myself, but also telling them, hey, I could promote you, small fee. So I would run ads, throw posts on Black San Diego and mixed results. You know what I mean? Just how Black San Diego is. It's a big resource. The biggest reason, and I wouldn't say disappointment because a lot of things came out of it, but I went on the group, posted a picture of me and my opponent, right? Stephen Whitburn, right? Obviously. Didn't say, hey, I'm a black, vote for me, I'm black. Yeah. Didn't put support black owned businesses, things I've seen before.
Yeah.
Didn't say none of that, just say, hey, I'm running against this guy. So people automatically assumed that I wanted them to vote for me because I'm black.
Right.
So people start hitting me with all the questions. Hey, where's your website, right? I have a website up. Yeah. It's up, it's smooth. I actually did the website myself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ask Stephen
Whitburn.
Good. I mean, it's decent, right? I've done websites before. And so, nobody cared about his website. His website wasn't even up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just keeps spinning and everything. Just kind of like, in my opinion, just kind of like his leadership is just kind of just
spinning.
Nowhere to be found. It's just spinning. When you hit refresh, the page isn't working.
Do you believe or do you feel like there's a different expectation for you because you're a black man running for office?
Yeah, I think that there's, there are expectations, and I love it. That's the point of being, black.
Yeah.
I think Farrakhan had a speech, right, from the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan, I forgot what it was. I've been trying to find it actually, right, because it was pretty interesting. But he was talking about the black community, and he's like, the black community will, we will grab our leaders, take them down, beat them and beat them and beat them and beat them. And then when he finally like, all right, I give up. Yeah. Then black people be like, see, we knew he couldn't lead us.
Yeah.
That's
very
sad.
And
it's kind of, I mean, in a way it's sad, but, the strong rises to the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it takes strength to put yourself out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've been seeing it since we were watching comedians and stuff on Comic View. You know what I mean? Even our comedy is tough. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The Apollo, it's a whole thing. The clown dancing on stage and yanks him off. We'll boo you fast. Yeah. I grew up playing sports. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't suck.
You can't.
Get off the field.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So politics is like that. It's a sport, and I'm all for it. So it's not I knew that they was going to come for me. You see, I was in the comments. Mind you, I work. So just like everybody else in between jobs and everything, I'm right. Well, what you say? I'm getting on them. Then I'm hitting them in the DM. Right. And things of that. So it was one of those things. It was introduction. You know what I mean? I loved it. A lot of the people in my experience with black people is that you may think they're criticizing you, right? But that's just some way of support, and we can say however we want, but it's not just our community. It's in a lot of communities that support is, in the Hispanic community, it's the same thing. They just have their own ways. And I know like the Laos community, my nephew is Laos, right? Oh, wow. My sister-in-law is Laos, so I'm very connected with that community.
Nice.
And they're very hard on you when it comes to certain things. You know what I mean? Math and stuff. Black people, when it comes to representation and who represents us, we're very, very, very tough on them. Because we've been bamboozled. We've been fooled so many times that we're like, hey, you know. But to kind of take it away from race, though, right? There's a lot of other communities that can use that energy when it comes to their leadership.
Right.
You know, the Chaldeans, you know, you got a lot of immigrants. This is San Diego. There's a lot of immigrants that come out here, you know, refugees, whatever. They come out here and they're trying to make a better way for themselves. But in that way, they feel that they shouldn't speak up. Oh, no, be quiet. Don't say nothing. Right. Nah. Don't,
you gotta
speak up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what America is.
Do you think that your representation right now, as it is, represents the Black community well?
Me personally?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say so. It's more, and the reason being is because we have like I don't want to say a divide, but the Black community is not like monolithic.
Yeah.
I would say, and so we have our different like areas, right? And you have to be in the middle of that. You know, you got to know the streets. You got to know the suburbs. You got to know, not everybody grew up hard.
Working man.
Exactly.
The rich man.
Exactly.
There's a lot of different categories there. And
you have to represent all of them.
Yeah, and so my biggest wow factor seeing you was that moment. And that's why I reached out to you. I was like, this guy is super bold to post that in this Black San Diego. And you said why, you did a good job explaining why right now, because not a lot of people understand that the Black community will kind of check you to make sure you really are what you say you are.
Yeah.
And what I found beautiful about it was that at the beginning, it was a lot of people just like dogging you out. And then at the end, it was like, man, we got you. Like, you're solid. And the reason why they switched is because they saw you endure for a little bit on that post, and they were like, this guy didn't switch up. You know what I mean? So they're like, he's solid. Like, we don't want you to get into office and then switch up on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there's some beauty in that, and the Black community does a good job kind of like vetting their people before they have, them out there representing.
Yeah.
And I also want to make a point of like what you said about all the different races. I think you can learn something from each race. Like, the lost community, I think we do, like Black people need to be more focused on, math and science for our kids, stuff like that. And I think that the lost community needs to be more of like, take from us to be bolder in the community,
speak up
for yourself,
don't wait till somebody gets killed or somebody gets attacked or something like that to now, you know what I mean? Like, speak up for certain things, don't wait until you're discriminated against.
Right.
And then you speak up and then you hear that this has been happening for years. It's like the Me Too movement with women, right? And at first, as a man, right? And I know they got beta males and alpha males and everything, right? And in my opinion, the alpha male is not going to sit here and say, I'm an alpha male.
Right.
You know what I mean? But regardless of where you sit on the masculine spectrum, right?
Yeah.
The Me Too movement, just from my experience, just from hearing it, my first mindset, just being ignorant, was, why didn't she say nothing?
Right.
Why are you just now saying something?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But me growing up and it took me, having my girlfriend and just, understanding. Yeah, I realized that women don't speak. They're not like men.
Yeah.
We don't, and we're not even the genders, take the genders away, right? But some people just don't speak up like others.
That's true.
And sometimes it takes a while for people to speak up. And so it's for the strong to kind of speak up for them.
Yeah.
But you hear when like a community speaks up, like the Hispanic workers with the like even with the street vending and even the Hispanic workers at the Grant Hotel not getting paid enough. Like, how long are you going to go before you start speaking up. Right. And that's one thing with like the Black community, right? And what I like that we represent is that plan of action. Mm-hmm. Like we're not, because we've been here for a long time, so we've seen it all. Yeah. And that experience can be good, but recently we've seen a lot of, and be frank, we've seen a lot of Black politicians using us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just using us.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, my family's from Detroit, right? And so we had Kwame kill Patrick. And so everybody loved Kwame. He was, wearing the Cartier buffs, and he's like, oh, he represents Detroit, he represents the people. Yes. And he kind of pulled us over on one and, ended up in jail and all that. But I think that has to do a lot with why you were getting vetted so much, because like you said,
we've had a lot of corruption with Black politicians. Yeah. And I've actually listened to Kwame speak, and now he's a little bit, jail will do that to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And that it will, but he didn't do that much time. No. But, but he comes from a family of politicians. Right. You know what I mean? So there's one thing when you have, and this is what I wanted to turn like the campaign and the narrative into, because everybody talks about race, and it's just it's easy to pinpoint, like you're Black, you're Mexican, right? You're white. But I honestly think that there's a big divide going on right now between, I would say, entitlement and empowerment. I love that. You have some people who are entitled, and that's whether you're rich. You got super rich people who got handed everything to them. Mm-hmm. Right? Then you got super rich people, billionaires who built that. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Those are two different mindsets. They're both very rich, right? Yeah. Two different mindsets, and I can understand the guy who's worked for everything. You got even in the middle class, right? Right. I just seen a post where there was these workers at Plaza Bonita, and they were wrestling with somebody over their stuff. And you see this at that particular store. I think it was Revolution. Yeah. They were wrestling with somebody over their stuff, and somebody made a comment, right? That his name was like I'm Yellow Asian. He actually does the music videos out here, right? Oh, nice. And he made a comment that those people own that. Like, that's their stuff. Right. You see what I mean? As a business owner, when it's different than when you're working with like Target and Walmart, right? And you're taking from that stuff as a big corporation. But some of these people have worked for each garment they putting in there trying to sell. Yep. And now you're stealing that from them. And that's not cool, And so
so it's not more of a race thing right now that we need to focus on. It's more of like, hey, how do we fix this economic divide?
Well, no. It's both. We gotta focus on race. But see, that's the thing. It's not about stopping, and it's always that either or. Right. There's people that's already talking about the race and all of that. So I can jump in there. Am I adding to that problem? Right. Right. Or how can we solve it on some other issues? Right. As far as the economic development, and also just changing the mindset of somebody owes you something, or you going out and getting with what you deserved, obviously under the guides, the regulations and under the law and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But we have to start teaching the youth to go out and get it, to at least empower them to do it themselves. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's at all aspects from, and parents, a lot of wealthy parents, they are, they struggle with this a lot with their children.
They enable their children a little bit.
Yeah, so it's a balancing act, you know what I mean? And so they struggle with that. And even on a poor level, I've grew up with some people who were poor, poorer than me, richer than me, and you have some that, felt like the world owes them everything, and you got some people who's just gonna go out and get it. And that's always been there in America.
So I came from a middle class family. My dad was in the Navy, grew up in San Diego. I came here when I was 2. My mom and dad are from Detroit. And my dad, when he got out the Navy, he got a job working at Lockheed. I don't know if you heard of that spot. Yeah. So he worked there. That's kind of transferred over from what he was doing in the Navy. And then my mom was a hairdresser before she left. That's what she went to school for, cosmetology. At one point, I watched my mom be a hairdresser, go to college, be a teacher's assistant, and my dad work at Lockheed, move furniture, work at MTS. You know, I was like, what are we doing here? Like, that was way back in the day, and they were working, 3 jobs each, if you count school as a job, and still raising us well. And so I got a lot of the drive of not being a victim and just like doing the stuff from them. And so when I see a lot of entitlement, whatever, it could be Black community, white community, I don't care who it is. Yeah. But if I see a lot of the entitlement, I should just take this and it's mine. And when I see that, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me, because what about, it does come down to people do need help.
Yeah.
So there's a balance, like you said, and people do need help. Like, we shouldn't have, housing shouldn't be like something that's far fetched for people. You got to work 5 jobs to get a house. That's ridiculous. But also, yeah, I mean, there's people that work hard for their stuff. Let them have the benefits of working hard for their stuff. Let them keep their materials that they work hard for, their clothes that they were, like you're talking about the revolution thing. So there is a balance there, and I feel like you're a good representative of that balance because you understand it. You came from that place already, so you understand it. But I want to talk quick to you about your upbringing in San Diego and kind of like your struggle. I know you've been to prison and things like that. So I want you to talk more about that.
So, similar thing. My dad met my mom when he was stationed in South Carolina. Nice. Right. My mom's from South Carolina. My dad's from the deep South, Mississippi. So he grew up in the projects when back then they put gates around it and they could lock you in your projects at them times. Wow. So he grew up in like the racist South. He joined the Navy, met my mom out there, right? And, came out to San Diego. She followed him out here. I guess the story goes is my mom called his mom, and his mom bought her a ticket to come out here with him.
Nice.
Right? So she shows up on the doorstep, right? My mom already had a son, which is my older brother. Yeah. My dad met my mom like right at that time when she had him. Yeah. So they was together. So my mom ended up following them out there. And my dad, and then I was born. I was actually born in my district in Balboa Hospital. Nice. So, Navy dad. They ended up getting divorced in the 90s, early 90s. Honestly, I think there was a lot of, I won't get into it, but there was a lot of pressure from society that kind of pushed that, right? Yeah. That divide between family and all of that with Black people, and they lost that one. But they got divorced. My mom lived in the hood in East Dago. I grew up there. Would, play baseball sometimes in Murphy Canyon where my dad was at. But then, with him not, the divorce and everything, he just was hustling in the Navy, just going out to sea whenever they need him. 9 months here, 6 months there. You're Navy, right? Yep. So you understand. Mm-hmm. So he was just getting his money, saving his money. And my mom ended up, they actually tore down where I lived, development company, the city. So that's one of the reasons why I be very suspicious of certain developments that's happening and why and who's getting money and who's it really benefiting. But they tore down my neighborhood, which ended up resulting in us being homeless, me and my mom and my brother, living the Days Inn hotel, all of that. Ended up staying in my dad's apartment while he was out to sea. She left us there. Mom got into a little bit of trouble, ultimately went to prison. My dad ended up, at this point, I think he retired after 20 years in the Navy, 2000. I just started high school, moved in with my dad in East Dago, and went to Hoover. Played football.
My mom worked for Hoover.
Yeah. Okay, that's dope. Yeah. What was her name?
Carlise Johnson.
Maybe she knows me.
She probably does.
Carlise
Johnson. She was a TA.
Miss Johnson?
Yeah, Miss Johnson. Coach Moore?
I think so.
Coach Moore played basketball. You're almost my age, right?
I'm 37.
Oh, you're younger than me. Or you're 2 years younger than me.
Oh, dang. Yeah. Oh, well, your mom might know me. I played football. I was I was on the all-star team. I went to college. It was a big thing. Nice. We sucked my last 2 years, but I was doing my thing. And I went to Hoover, was one of the only players who got a full scholarship, went to San Jose State. Yeah. And during my childhood, I wrestled because I had a father, but he was not absent, but he just wasn't there, I guess, because he was working and my mom and them kind of split. Yeah. So I had that father there, and he, supported us and everything. And And my mom was a hustler. My mom worked a lot of different things. She was a nurse practitioner, went to Merritt College over there in Claremont. And so, but that's why I'm very hard on the kids around us, because I just grew up with a lot of good kids, great kids. And I grew up with a lot of kids who I don't fault them now, because I'm a Capricorn. I interrogate everybody, right? But I know now why they acted like that. Why did you guys, hit robberies and stuff like that? Why? And
you have all this pain inside, and they don't know how to.
It's a lot. There's a lack of outlet.
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't play football like me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They weren't all, some of them were good, but they couldn't do the grades. It's a balancing act, or they just didn't want to go to school because they didn't have clothes. So, but ultimately, when I went to college, I was in the Bay Area, and my whole life I put a lot aside of whatever trauma I had, just the racistness, the unfairness, certain things that just wasn't cool. Being broke, growing up poor, mom in jail, all of that. I just kind of just tucked it in and played football, you know, and it worked for me for a while, but without having any type of therapy or anything. I think I had got arrested, like not arrested, but the police pulled me over on some BS. And that just made me kind of like, man, fuck the police and society. You know what I mean? I'm finna get my money. Yeah. And I started getting that with the times, the music that was going on and everything. I just kind of like, and it was at the time where I was started to excel in football in college. But at that time, they were paying us $800 a month to, like on a scholarship, it's a stipend.
Okay.
And if you don't have family support, if they can't afford it, it's rough going to college, And it's not like when you can get loans and you have that money you can sit back on. When you play football, it's kind of like it's one of those relationships, like it's like almost like welfare. They give you a little bit to kind of be cool, but you're really lacking in a lot of the resources. So where most people would probably go to their parents or get a loan or something, I just didn't understand like other ways of getting money.
Right.
When you play college football, you can't have a job. That's part of your scholarship because you're playing, like they're paying for this whole education and everything. You got to play football. So you can't really have a job, but you can do something under the table. But ultimately, I just started to get involved with the wrong guys who were coming around me. I'm a struggling student, and I got my friends who are coming around with Benzes and just had money. And I'm like, whoa. And I got involved in some armed robberies and ended up paying for it. Went to jail for a long time. And immediately when I went to jail, I instantly, I swear, I'll never forget. It's like a wake up moment, when you realize I've been fooled.
Yeah.
Like the streets and all of that stuff, it's insidious, and I felt like I've been fooled. Yeah. And the reason I knew it is because when I went there, soon as I stepped in prison, everybody I seen, it's like I knew. It was all the poor Asians that I grew up with, all the poor Mexicans that I grew up with, all the poor white boys that I grew up with, all the poor. It's like it was just. Soon as I seen it, I said, this is ridiculous. And people were in there putting on facades, and it was like the Matrix, and we all got fooled. And I felt like not only did we get fooled, we've been given this bad apple to eat, right? Instead of just, this apple is bullshit, we was like, oh yeah, this is good. Here, you have some. Yeah. Here, you taste it. Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, this is cool. This is what we do. We're thugs. And it's just like this BS that we've been handed. We've been perpetuating it because instead of just saying, you know what, I was dumb and manipulated and misled. It's hard to say that. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
You know
hard.
What I mean? I was dumb.
It's a lot of.
I was stupid. I was manipulated. I wasn't strong enough. I was gullible.
How this correlates to your struggle and going to prison and all that, and you seeing like, oh, this is dumb. This is literally what still goes on in politics. I'm dead serious, bro. Like, people are just getting bamboozled, man. And the reason why is because you get fed stuff. And you put your energy, you put your time, you put your mindset into, man, we're gonna make America great again, or we're gonna change it. What did Obama's was change or something?
Yeah.
And then and Trump's was make America great again.
great again.
So you get pushed into this mindset and agenda, and I'm not saying one or the other is better. I'm staying out of that. But I am saying that people get pulled into a kind of it's though I'm gonna use the word cult. It's not a bad. I don't want to say cult is a bad thing all the time.
Yeah.
Because there's cult. The root word is culture. So we have, black culture, we have white culture, we have Asian culture, and the culture is good. We want
but
culture.
They always take some of these good words and throw a negative spin to it.
And twist it. So I'm going to use the word culture. So you get sucked into a culture, and then you get so influenced by a culture, whatever it's streets culture, that you believe that you are. If you're outside of that culture, then you're wrong. If I don't have a gun, if I don't sell drugs, if I don't bang my set, if I don't do this, I am wrong.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's some limiting mindsets for in politics. I think you're outside of a lot of those as a Republican man, as a black man as well. So I think you're outside of the limiting factors inside of Republican American culture.
Yeah.
And also black culture. So you have different viewpoints than a lot of those cultures, and I think that makes you unique, and also I think it makes you powerful. Talk to me a little bit about housing and how we can help the housing situation and how we can help the homeless.
I don't think they're connected. They're trying to make it seem like it's connected, but it's not. Homeless is becoming a more complex issue than it used to be. Yeah, it's like the gang banging, right? When you're constantly feeding it and giving it energy, you're creating something that wasn't there, and now now it's a culture. Yeah, I see kids growing up in it. You know what I'm saying? It's becoming a culture to being out, hanging up, and you're justifying it. And if we don't kind of I don't want to say stamp it out, but that mindset that homelessness is acceptable and cool needs to be eradicated, at least in my district. Yeah. We're going to take away that option. Yeah. You see? Yeah. Because it's setting a bad precedent, because you're going to have kids growing up in tents. And to be honest, there's some areas that, like City Heights, I was talking to some Republican older lady, right, and man, and they were mad about how City Heights, they say there's a difference between City Heights and Talmadge, right?
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Yeah, there's a big difference, and they say redlining, and they're like, well, we're trying to stop, and I'm like, to be honest, ma'am, it was up to the leaders at the time when they passed that to stop that from forming, to stop these ghettos and stuff like that from happening. It should have been somebody like us to say, no, we're not going to allow this low-income stuff to happen and fester and create some type of community of crime. We're going to stop that, right? But they didn't, and I grew up in it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Which ultimately led to me hurting people, and doing crimes. Right. And it's ultimately led to other people doing that. Right. So how many kids are going to grow up in homelessness, right, in a tent, and despise, you when they see you walking by, going to the bar or whatever? They don't even know you. How many kids are going to grow up in that? So what are we got to stop that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, I've been in a shelter, I've been with moms and stuff, and moms was in a shelter, and I understand how that is. You know what I'm saying? And my mom's is doing fine. Yeah. Now she's doing great, actually. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? And my brother too. So it's like, you got to get off the street and get in one of these shelter beds. You're not going to be in a tent outside on the street. We're not going to allow this class to form.
Right. So
I'm not.
That's good that you're not. I mean, we've been seeing the same thing over and over. And unfortunately, with San Diego politics, it's like talk a big game, and then where's the result? Yeah.
So the thing about it is that it's like you said, it's the I want to say gang banging mentality of these politicians, where they're just really kind of a lot of I don't want to speak on nobody, but a lot of candidates, they come into office and they're not really their issues. It's just the right time. They're looking at it like it's another job and position, right, for their career.
Yeah.
And it's different from coming into politics about, concerned about certain issues. And so once they get in there, they're just more worried about keeping that position.
Right.
Like I've said, I don't want to do this like a career thing. I actually wanted to, I still do the acting and the production, but the climate was so bad that it made it very hard. And so I was like, before I leave my hometown, let me run and push some issues and get my voice out there and see if I can change before I leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of my friends have left.
Why do your friends leave?
Because the cost of living is so high and they're not getting any type of return on what they're spending. You're not getting a return of investment because it's hard to own something out here, right? Yeah. And then you're renting and you don't have no amenities in your building, and the quality of living is becoming is stagnated while the cost of living is starting to increase like exponentially. So it's the thing about solving the issue is, frankly, I think that a lot of politicians lack the spine or the political courage. Mm-hmm. One of the things is my past has already been, I've been through my past. Like we got all these guys that are actually, they're doing the inversion of what I did. I went to prison and ended up having to change and getting into service. A lot of these people, they went into service and ended up going to prison. It's a different trajectory, you see? Yeah. And so with my push and my aggressiveness and in the way that I move on certain things, I wanted to give that to, lend that to the people around me.
Right.
I said I was going to stop saying, lend that to people around me. Lend this push and this energy and this aggressiveness for good, for positive use, And the people in my district, I think, need that. They need somebody who's going to stand up and not be afraid of what the Republican Party is going to say or take away or whatever, or be afraid of what the Democrat Party is going to say, or they may not get that next donation.
Right.
I didn't grow up with handouts. A lot of politicians, they come from that, I need to raise money. They don't even know how to make money. Yeah, like you seen Oprah and The Rock, even though they can make money, right? But when you get into those politics, you see who can really go out and get some money and who's asking for money. And that's what they're doing because they have no type of hustle. And I'm not the biggest hustler, but I'm not going to focus on asking for handouts in order to stay in office without providing some type of return.
So you have two ways that you can go about it. Let's take, for instance, we're at 32 minutes now. So you got two ways. You got the kid that comes up and he's like, what the heck? He goes, to some Euclid elementary school. He's living in a shelter home and he's like, what the heck? This sucks. My mom works, my dad works. We don't make enough money to live. He either grows up to be the hero, which is like, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to go run for office, or he grows up to be a villain. And, he wants to cause pain to everybody that's, not helping him, right? And I think what I'm hearing from you, especially when you're talking about, politicians going the wrong way after they were already candidates, what I'm hearing from you is that we need to nip that situation in the bud at the beginning so we can push heroes from the start. Yes. Every kid will be a hero, regardless of if they're wealthy or they're, poor. They will have the resources available to them to come up and feel good, have nice clothes. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. I think that from what I'm hearing from you, your heart is connected to that. It's cool because a lot of politicians do have that inner drive because they experience something. And I love that. I love how the candidate, what's her name, Amy, I like how she's connected to her inner drive from her personal life and how that people can feel that their spirit behind that. And they can feel the love, like, I got passion for this. I really want to change, Last question. Why are you doing this?
Well, the real reason why, like I touched on before, was that I planned on leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me and my girlfriend, we bought some land in Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'm an inspector, but I'm adding to my certifications, going to get my R1 and or the residential and get into that so that I can be a little bit more mobile with my career and my business. I have a business as well, just small business that picks up contracts and things when we can.
What is it? What is your business?
It's Umbrella Operations LLC. So I started it when I was working with Bird and I owned the scooters. We ended up getting overregulated by the city, and now it's been kind of a little dormant. Picked up some projects and do some ladder inspections and things like that. But the climate and like the economy in San Diego has just made it not worth it to live here. And before I decided, like, we're going to just go ahead and move and start building elsewhere. And, you know, I still have my ties here. My father still has a house out here. We're going to start spreading our wings because it's not really no return of investment living here.
Right.
But I looked into, you know, they fucked up. And I looked into who's running my district, right? And I did a whole deep dive into how the city works. A lot of people don't know how the city works. I didn't, and I'm from here, born and raised. So I looked into how the city works, and, you know, the mayor and the city council and the districts is divided in. It's downtown San Diego. My district, District 3, is not just downtown. It's downtown, Hillcrest, Bankers Hill, Little Italy, South Park, North Park, Mission Hills, University Heights, areas like that. I looked into who's in charge, and it was like Stephen Whitburn. I looked at him, okay, cool, good-looking guy, right? I can see why he got elected. Started looking into what he did, nothing. Contacted him about an issue I had as a resident, nothing. Communication was poor, office ran poor. Started looking into this guy, just like I would do anything, just, you know, even from when I was young, whatever it is. I started looking into this guy. Hey, calling my homies, you guys know who this guy is? Calling some friends, Republican, who, you guys know this guy? Nobody knows him. Just kind of went in there. He, in my opinion, snuck into office on a Democrat, like under Democratic lines. It was during COVID. He ran against another Democrat, you know, who didn't do very well. He had name recognition, and he also ran next to Todd Gloria. That was his boy. So he's been in office just kind of like a tool of Todd Gloria. And I think that the residents in District 3 need somebody who's going to speak up for them, not just a tool. And when I speak up, I have my ideas. But as a representative, I got to represent you, you know, and you. And so, like, you have a place like Hillcrest, large LGBT community. Yeah. I'm obviously not LGBT, you know, but that community, first of all, you're in my city, you're in my community. Yeah. So we're all family. Yeah. And they need people to speak up for them the way that I know how. You know, people that's in East Village need people to speak up for them, need somebody who's going to speak up for them. Right. Black people, there's not a lot of black people in my district, which I would like to change. I would like to see more businesses coming down there and making it more, you know, supportive of low income, you know, individuals, black individuals, Mexicans, Asians, people who come into work, want to make it more supportive of them. But it's not at this moment. And I think that's because of the leadership, and that was Stephen Whitburn. So the reason I wanted to run was, first, I believe that I can beat him. He made about 77,000 votes, looked at his social media imprint, looked at some of his interviews. He got in there because nobody knew who he was. Right. Nobody really focused on this race and what it entailed. If I can at least do that and put the spotlight on this district, at the least we can get somebody better in there. Yeah. You know, but at the best, you can get me in there. Because one thing having me, you know, you don't really want me against you. Yeah. Right? But a lot of people, having somebody like me on your side is a good thing. Nice. And even past and everything aside, when you're on my side, it's always been a good thing. And the residents of District 3 will definitely have somebody who can lead them a lot better than Stephen Whitburn has. And that's why I decided to run. I think I could do a better job than him.
Dang, enough said. You know, what I heard from you today was genuinity. And I think genuinity is important. I think that's at the forefront of any leader. I think people feel that, you know, they they know when somebody's being phony and when somebody's being real for the most part. Sometimes people get bamboozled, like you said, you know, they just get sucked into a movement or a culture and you get through it and you're like, why did I do that? But
self-discipline. That's why I'm only going to do 4 years if I get in there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people can get on board with that because they're tired of the same old, right? So if you guys are out there and you're interested in politics or you're wanting to see something, a change in District 3, please, I'm going to call you California Jones. I want you all to vote for California Jones because I'm CJ, so that's California Jones. This is CJ as well. So please vote for him. Brother, thank you for coming on board. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.